Hello and good morning, everyone. I'm Christina Pusari from the EMA. I'm the product owner of the electronic application forms. We have organized this information and interactive Q&A session to give you an update on the a new product load of centrally authorized products in our PLM portal web-based electronic application form. So let's have a quick look at our agenda for today. So today I'll give you a brief update on what has happened with this new product load, how to use the forms now when we are moving towards more intensive use of the forms. And we also have my colleague Marcos, who is the PMS product co-owner, presenting some of the specific details about this new product load. We will hopefully have a good amount of time for your questions and comments, and then we'll be closing. And just wanted to say that we will be recording this session, and the slides and the recording will be made available on the PLM portal, on the eSubmissions website, and on the EMA events page. I will now hand over to my colleague Isabella, who will give you some housekeeping information. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. So as Christina said, the session will be recorded. For questions, you will not be able to raise your hand or unmute yourself, but you can send your questions through the Slido. I will now show you the QR code. You can scan this and you can send your questions throughout the whole session. You will have on the bottom of each slide also the code to access the Slido. So don't worry if you don't scan the QR code now. You can also access the Slido with the code here, UPCAPEAF. You can send your questions. You can also upvote the questions that you want to hear answered first. So you will see all everyone's questions and you can vote on them. And then at the end of the session, we will try to answer to as many questions that we can. If we cannot answer to all, we will collect them anyway, and we will try to answer them in writing as soon as possible. So I'll give you back the floor, Christina.
Thank you, Isabella. So just to start with, few important news. So as probably a lot of you are already aware, we have now concluded in mid-April a new load of centrally authorized products that are now available through the PLM portal web-based eAF. So this was a part of the SPOR PMS product management services go live. And when we launched the eAF in PLM portal in November 22, we had a product load of centrally authorized products that was coming from EMA internal product database called SciMed. What we have done now, we have merged that data with product information from XEVMPD. So this is now a completely new product load. So you will see changes in the product names, but you will also see other changes that Marcos will explain in short while. However, since this new load, we have kept you in a way within this recommendation. Please do not use the web-based eAF yet for production submissions, because we are still testing, and we have also identified some issues, some with data, but mainly issues relating to the form functions with this new product data. So we wanted to make sure that we'll be able to tell you exactly how the form functions, so that you don't waste time on trying to use the form in a way that you cannot before we have finished all our testing and bug fixes. So we are still coming across with some issues, but we are now starting to feel more confident, and we will launch a recommendation to start using the web-based eAF for all centralized procedure variations starting from Tuesday next week. You may wonder why Tuesday? Because we have a production deployment on a Monday the 13th. So hopefully there will be a few more bug fixes implemented on the deployment that will go live on the Monday evening, the 13th of May. But please note that there are still some known issues and limitations. I will list most of those in this presentation today, but we will also publish, of course, the updated user guide where you will find details on these limitations and, of course, from the release notes as well. Also, while I'm saying please start using it for all variations, bear in mind that the add package feature, which is needed for variations that are adding a new presentation, is still pending. We have received an estimation from the development team that we would be getting that feature most likely on the release going live on the 27th of May. So end of this month. However, of course, that is only for a small number of variations. So you can already start using the form from the 14th of May for majority of your variation applications. And also, just a reminder, now that we are moving this strongly recommended period, we would really appreciate if you report all issues that you find via our service desk using the ServiceNow tool. And just a note there, please select the correct category very, very carefully. It is utmost importance that you select the right category when you report the issues, because otherwise they may end up in an incorrect queue and they may not be handled as quickly as they would be if you had selected the correct details. I've also added some information into my presentation on that. However, I will now hand over to my colleague Marcos, who will explain you what this new product data load really means and what are the changes that it brought for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And let me share my screen so I can yeah, I hope you can see it. So as Christina was mentioning before, what we have already done is, we have migrated the data from SciAmed. So you have already been able to see this data in the PLM portal. We migrated all the centrally authorized products into PMS. What we have done like 3 weeks ago, more or less, is also migrate the data from Exit NPD. That means that we have migrated all the caps that we have in this database, but also the non-cap products into PMS. One of the points that we want to discuss today is what we have done with because we have the centrally authorized products coming from SciAmed, but also the same centrally authorized products coming from Exit NPD. So in order to avoid having duplicates, what we had to do is do the match and merge of these centrally authorized products that I'm going to explain in the next slide. So let's take an example. We have centrally authorized products coming from SciAmed, like for example, Skilarence. So in PMS, we will have 2 different medicinal products because we have 2 different strengths, both of them with their separate presentations. We have the same medicinal product in Exit NPD, so with the different TD codes, 1 per presentation, we are able to create 2 different medicinal products because we have different names, strengths, etc. So what is happening in PMS is that these 2 products coming from SciAmed and these 2 products coming from Exit NPD are the same. There is a perfect match between those presentations from SciAmed and those presentations from Exit NPD. So we are able to do what we call the match and merge. First of all, we match these 2 medicinal products and then we merge them to avoid a duplicate. What is happening, therefore, is that in PMS, and therefore in the PLM portal, you will be able to see only 2 medicinal products where we had 4 coming from 2 different databases. As you can see in the one coming from Siamet here on the top, the name was a bit different with a hyphen, etc. But then after the match and merge, we have the name as in PD. That is because depending on the data element that we talk about, the survival source is Siamet or PD. We are not going to spend time here explaining which is the survivor of which data element. All this information, you have it in the chapter 7 of the EUIG. There is a big table at the end where you can see the different data elements and where the data is coming from, either Siamet or XEDMPD. Obviously, this is for the CAPs. For the NAPs, all the data will come from XEDMPD because it's the only source that we have. Nevertheless, we have some products, some centrally authorized products, for example, Imobic. In this case, I have also 2 medicinal products in Siamet, the one with 140 milligrams and the other one with 70 milligrams, both of them with different presentations. To simplify the presentation, let's focus only on the one for 140 milligrams, but the same explanation would apply to the 70 milligrams. So what I have in XEDMPD is the same 3 presentations for 140 milligrams, but the name in the SMPC is different. In some cases, I have solution for injection in pre-filled pen, and in others, I have solution for injection in pre-filled syringe. That means that based on the IDMP rules, I have to create, or I need to create 2 different medicinal products. And that's what I'm doing from XEDMPD. What is the problem here is that I have 2 medicinal products coming from XEDMPD, while I have only 1 coming from Siamet. Therefore, I'm not able to do the match and merge because this 1 medicinal product doesn't match with these 2 medicinal products from XEDMPD. What's the solution that we have found is that we have already split the medicinal product coming from Siamet into 2 medicinal products, each of them with their respective presentations. Now, the products coming from XEDMPD can match and merge the products coming from Siamet. And therefore, where you had at the beginning in the PLM portal only 2 products for Imobic 140 milligram solution for injection and Imobic 70 milligram solution for injection, after the split and the match and merge, you will have 4 medicinal products, 2 of them for 140 milligrams. One will be the pre-filled syringe, the other one is the pre-filled pen, and the same for the one of 70 milligrams. This is what you are able to see right now in the PLM portal. I think Christina will go a bit deeper now and show you some examples. But this is what we have done with this load of data from XEDMPD into PMS. And this is what you can see now also in the PLM portal for some of the CAPs, for those CAPs that are under this category that we call the split CAPs. Again, the full presentation name, for example, is taken from XEDMPD. The authorized dose form is kept from Siamet. So in chapter 7, you have the different fields that are in PMS and where the data is coming from, because this is also important for you to be able to check if the data that we have in PMS is correct or not. Just some business rules for this match and merge. 2 medicinal products will be matched if we have all the presentations in XEDMPD matching the presentations from Siamet. Obviously, the MA holder, so the log ID of the MA holder in Siamet and in XEDMPD are the same, and we are only matching the EU records from XEDMPD. So if one of those 3 conditions are not met, then we don't do the match and merge of these products. And again, this is the same explanation. Depending on the field, the survival will be either Siamet or Excellent PD. So please go to chapter 7 of the UIG, and there you will be able to find all the information that we have in relation to the match and match. This is in short my presentation. I think back to you, Christina. I'm happy to answer any question that you might have on this part of the process.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Marcus. I hope that helps our eAF users to understand what has changed. So then I will now move on to a part where I'll give a little bit more information on practical terms, what has changed and what known issues may suddenly have appeared that were not visible previously before the new product load in the system. So this new product load has given us more authorization statuses that we had available from Siamet in the past. So in the past, the authorization status that you would see in the system in the product selection view was always valid. Now, occasionally for some products, you will see authorization status, for example, valid transferred. But now we have a small issue in the system. We're still investigating what is causing it, and we are looking at the best way to fix this issue. However, here on the lower part of this screenshot, you can see that the authorization status of 4 of the packages listed under this particular product says surrendered. Of course, you can't do a variation on a surrendered product. So this is an issue. However, it's a somewhat intermittent issue. It doesn't happen every time you open the form, even those surrendered packages are there somewhere in the background in the system. Also, they are initially shown, but after a few minutes, and mainly after a page or browser-free refresh, they will disappear. If you're very, very quick and you select your products and you move into the proposed, present and proposed section, you might even catch them in the section where you're linking your scopes and the presentations, but they will disappear. So at this point, if you see when you have come to the product selection view, you may see surrendered products. If you refresh your browser, they will hopefully disappear. But I've also noticed that there's another intermittent issue related to this, and which relates to the number of selected packages. So here you can see it is reflected correctly. Correctly and correctly, we have 2 packages that are actually valid. Occasionally that count may show as 0 out of 6 because it's also calculating the surrendered packages. However, once the surrendered packages have disappeared from the view, the count will always be correct. But it may initially show you 0 out of 6. Once you've refreshed and surrendered packages are no longer visible, the count should be correct. But this can be somewhat confusing. Please don't worry. We are working on it, and it doesn't really affect anything. You cannot select them into the form so that they would be visible in the PDF, but it is always best to make sure that they are no longer visible if this happens to you before you move further in your application. Thank you. So we can go to the next issue that we have found. So this is again something that seems to have been introduced as a new issue. So this relates to the product selection. In the past, it was not possible, the system would not allow you to select the same product and the same presentations multiple times. Now it's possible. This is, of course, erroneous behavior. It shouldn't do that. But I have noticed that it is possible to if you search and you add and you search and you add, you can add the same medicinal product multiple times. But also in the present and proposed section, you can select these medicinal products multiple times, and you can select the multiple packages. And I noted that they can also be displayed, or they are displayed in the exported PDF form. So please always check very, very carefully the exported PDF form to ensure that the form correctly reflects the changes that you wish to introduce. Of course, once we receive it, and if we see that you have included the same presentation multiple times, we know that that's not possible, and that's probably not intended, but it would be ideal if you have already checked and avoided this error prior to submitting the application form. And also, there may be discrepancies between the web user interface. So when you are filling in the application form in the PLM portal and in the exported PDF, but it is always important to ensure that the PDF is correct, because that's what you're sending to us. And if you find these discrepancies, so that on your screen in PLM portal you have discrepant information to what comes into the PDF, please report these discrepancies through ServiceNow. And of course, sometimes it could be that you cannot solve these issues and correct them in the PDF export. So in those cases, please revert back to the interactive PDF eAF instead and report these issues to EMA, just to avoid any validation issues or any delays with your variations. And then we've also noticed that there are still some issues with the copy application, also called the clone application feature. So in some cases, the form content is not always copied. So it could seem that everything has worked perfectly, but when you go into the copy, there is no content. So the content did not, for some reason, come into the copied application. What seems to happen perhaps more often than that the content is not copied is that you will receive an error message informing you that the copy has failed. However, when you check, there is a perfect copy that has been created. If you get that error message that the copy has failed, but the copy is there and all the information has been included into this copy, you can of course use that copy and just ignore that error message that you received. And occasionally, the creation of the copy takes a very long time, or it may even time out. And in those cases, it could happen that not all of the content is copied, or it will appear in the list later on that you notice that there was, after all, a copy has been created, even though it seemed it wasn't coming. So those are the known issues that we had already prior to the new product load. However, subsequently, following the new product load, we have noticed that if the product that you have selected, so let's imagine a situation where you have created an application form prior to the 11th of April, before we started the new product load, and this product has been subsequently split. So what Marcos just explained there with the Imovik example, for example, if you had created a form for Imovik and then it was split, these products, as they are no longer available in the database, you cannot remove them from the copy, but you also cannot use them in an application form anywhere, because they are not active products. So please do not use the copy application feature to create forms to be submitted in production if you have created these original forms prior to the new product load. So we really, really strongly recommend to create new application forms after the product load. As Marcus also mentioned, some of the product names have changed. There may be other changes, and there may be some issues with these products. Not only the fact that they cannot be removed from the form, which in itself is already an issue. But there may be other issues, and this could lead into discrepancies and errors in the forms. And for example, that the PDF and the XML that is touched in the form that we use to upload this data in our case management system are not aligned, and this can then lead, of course, into validation errors and calculation errors in number of scopes, which can then lead into billing errors. So very, very strong recommendations not to use copy applications for those applications that have been created prior to the new product. Then we additionally also recommend that you would create new forms after the product load. So it could be that you have been working on a form prior to this new product load before the 11th of April, and you think, well, I'll just continue with that same form that I have created in the past. Please do not do that. As we have introduced these changes, it could be that this product indeed has been split. So as I just explained, it is not possible to delete the split products from the form. And this can lead into errors and mistakes in the PDF. Also, the PDF export may fail. It could be that the product details are not correctly displayed on the PDF export. And again, this can lead into validation issues and rejections or incorrect billing. And as you know, it could be very difficult to correct these billing issues. Also, in some cases, the split products are not exported. So the medicinal product and the packaged medicinal products are missing from the PDF export, although they will be visible in the web UI. And of course, as Marcos also mentioned, the product names of almost all products have changed following the match and merge, which can also cause issues if you continue editing the previously created form, even if the product has not been split. So please, if you have created a form prior to the split before mid-April, discard that form and start from scratch, and this would hopefully avoid any issues related to the split product. So this is a very, very strong recommendation from our side. We also have some known issues related to the export and finalization. So occasionally you may receive an error message when you're trying to export or finalize the form. This is something that tends to happen quite often, at least for me when I'm testing. And it could be that I need to repeat the step to try and export 2 or 3 times before the export is then correctly produced. We are, of course, trying to fix this issue, but if it happens to you and you get an error, this is normally shown as a red banner on top of the screen saying that the export failed or there was a database issue. If you try again, normally the 3rd time seems to work, and then the export is created. But again, if the product has been split and it is not possible to delete this previously selected product from the form, so it could be that the product details are not correctly displayed in the export. Sometimes they're not displayed at all, but it could be that it's only the root number, so only the medicinal product is listed in section 2, but the packages are not listed, and this can of course lead into an issue. And you also are informed of this, so you may get this orange banner where it says products you selected are no longer available. Please double check your product is correct. Of course, in this case, we say for assistance, contact the EMA service desk. EMA service desk cannot really help you in this case. If the product has been split, it has been removed. There isn't any magic tricks that we can do on the back end to remove these products from the application form. So in those cases, again, we would strongly recommend to create a new form from the scratch. Of course, if you have been asked to send a validation update and you have created the form in the past and you are able to update it, that's fine, but that should be a very exceptional situation because we already informed the users in mid-March not to use the web-based form for production applications. And then there's also another new bug related to the finalization of the form. There is a red arrow indicating that you have not filled in certain fields, even though they have been filled in. This error seems to be quite persistent. So for type 1b and type 2 variations, we have there are 3 options where you can indicate when the changes will be implemented from the next production run. You can select a date from a calendar, or you can leave a comment. Even though you have selected any of those 3 options, you will still get a persistent red message saying that you must select implementation date, and same also happens for the signatory details. So even though if you have filled in the signatory details and the date, you will still get this error message. However, you get this error message, but if you proceed and click finalize, the error will be overwritten. You will not see the arrows in the exported PDF, and the form is finalized as expected. So you can ignore that red message, but we are of course working to fix that. But it may cause some concern. There's no need to report this. We are already aware of it, but I just wanted to make sure that when users start using the form, you will see this red message, but we are trying to fix this as quickly as possible. Another issue that is not really an error in the form, but it is something that may cause confusion. In the present and proposed section, when you have selected your scope, there is a column with information under a tab called recommended change. Sometimes this could say, for example, medical device, or for example here, ATC code. We did this when we were planning an implementation of the structured variations. And these categorizations were created. However, these seem to cause quite a lot of concern with the applicants, and we constantly receive tickets related to this recommended changes classification. Please ignore it. It has nothing to do with the actual scope that you have selected or the PDF that will be exported. That information is not visible in the PDF, so you can simply ignore it. In some cases, it can be misleading, so please don't worry. There's no need to report that. We will be redesigning this whole present and proposed section of the form, and we will also remove that misleading indication in future. Then there's another what I would call maybe more serious issue currently in the form. Unfortunately, there are some inactive locations available in sections where only active locations can be selected. So, for example, in the section for MAH contact person and for the proposed organization in the present and proposed, you must always select an active location. There's an issue in the system, and it appears that organizations that have been marked inactive in OMS are appearing as active in the eAF, and also some organizations that have been marked inactive are not available in the present field of the eAF when you perform a search for inactive organizations. So there is a reverse error in that field as well. So just to make sure that you don't receive a validation error, business validation error when you submit your form, please pay very careful attention when you're selecting the locations to ensure that you're actually selecting an active location. This is not an issue with OMS. The information is correct in OMS, but there is an issue getting that correct information from OMS into the eAF form. So for the time being, until we have fixed this, and unfortunately I don't have an exact date for when we anticipate to fix this, please do a double check that the organization is active when you select it, especially in the contact person and in the proposed organization section. Then just a minor thing, you may not be using this very much because it's not working very well anyway. The other applications where you indicate in the present and proposed section what other ongoing applications there may be for that same product. We currently are only exposing lists from SciMed, and only type 2 variations and line extensions are currently displayed. And also, if you are, if for some reason you change the product, you have created a form and then you decide to change the product, the medicinal product that you have selected, this other application section is not cleared. So please, if you have selected something from the list, please manually remove it so that there won't be incorrect information in the form. But you can, of course, manually include any other ongoing variations into the form. But this is just to say that the automated list from our systems is not fully working. And then if you have found an issue, what to do. So please try and determine whether the problem is a data issue. So for example, this could be that the active substance is not correct, the package is missing. Please always first check XEVMPD. If you cannot check the issue in XEVMPD, for example, please raise a ticket. And for this, select the option report an issue with PMS, and as a subcategory, do not select PLM portal or eAF, select PMS, and then it will be directed to the correct team who can investigate what the issue is. So this could be, for example, something that you can yourself very easily fix in XEVMPD. You may have 2 medicinal products and they have different active substance information. This is a real life example that I came across yesterday. So you can simply fix that yourself in XEVMPD. If you cannot for some reason, or you're not sure if it's something you can fix yourself, of course, please raise a ticket, but do not select PLM portal or eAF because we won't be able to help you with data issues. Then, if it's a spore issue, for example, an active substance is missing, or excipient is missing, there's an incorrect address in OMS. Again, please select the relevant spore service, not an eAF. Again, do not select eAF or PLM portal because this information comes from spore. It doesn't come from eAF itself. So it's important that they are fixed in the source system, and if you indicate the source system as the one where you want to do the update or the fix, then this will be handled much quicker that way. And finally, if it is a real technical issue with the eAF, so for example, the export is not working, you've tried 5 times and it keeps on failing, or you cannot find the correct scope, or there are incorrect business rules, of course, then please select the PLM portal eAF, and we will look into those issues as quickly as possible to fix them. I believe that was all of the known issues. So just as a summary, what has changed? So we've also added a new package description column, which will help you identify the package content. This is not relevant for all products, but sometimes it could be very difficult to identify the correct packages from this product selection screen. We have also renamed the package ID column on the package medicinal product level. It used to be called PMS ID, which was incorrect. So it's now correctly called package ID. As mentioned before, all product names, let's say almost all product names, have changed. And a number of medicinal products, approximately 130, have gone through this split protocol. We will publish the list on the PLM portal. I'm not sure if it's there yet or if it needs to be still added, but we will add this in there so that you can have at least somewhat indication which products have been split. If you're not sure, you can, of course, already go to the PLM portal eAF and look at your products in there. But please wait until next week before you use the web-based form for production applications. And then few important dates. So as I mentioned earlier, we will strongly recommend to start using the PLM portal web-based eAF for all CAP variations from 14th of May, so next Tuesday. The add packets feature will be available in kind of end of May, we're hoping. And these known issues that I've listed here, we are of course fixing them as quickly as we can, but we're also very much focusing on performance improvements to enhance the user experience. So this is one of our main focuses for this quarter, and hopefully we will see an improved performance in the portal. And just as a quick note, we will be launching the new PLM portal homepage on the 31st of May. So don't be surprised when you enter the system end of the month. The homepage will look quite different. You will find all the information there, but you will also find EPI and the product UI more easily than you have you can do at the moment. And that's also, apologies, I took slightly longer than intended, but we can move to the questions.
Yes, thank you, Christina. Again, here is the QR code if you want to connect to the Slido and ask your questions. I will now start sharing the Slido so we can use the next 10 minutes to answer some of the questions that have arrived. Okay, sure. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so we have here the questions that have been most voted. So we can start from this one. When can we expect to have the delete option available in the system?
With this, I presume this is the delete application form option. So we have implemented the copy application and rename application. So we felt that those had priority over the delete application because we already have the deactivate application available. This is something that we will be for sure delivering this year, but it has a lesser of a priority than some of the bugs that we feel that we really need to fix. So I would anticipate that we will probably get this in Q3 this year.
Thank you, Christina. Let's get to the next most voted question. So there seems to be a few data migration issues in PLM. For example, duplicate packs in PLM are created. Additionally, for split caps, all the packs are one type. Files not completely grouped under correct MP full name coming from XV and PD.
Yeah, I can take this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
So these are the cases that Christina was saying. If you find any type of these issues, you should raise a ticket in ServiceNow, and please provide as much information as possible. Like, okay, this is the product, this is what we can see, these are the pack sizes for the presentations, because all this information is coming from Cyamed. So if there is any discrepancy on the pack sizes or duplicates or things like that, we should investigate and check what is the source of the problem. In principle, we have not identified a lot of issues like this. So please, if you find those type of issues, just raise a ticket and we will be able to investigate. And in case we need to make any correction, we will do it. So please let us know through the ServiceNow.
Thank you, Marcos. Let's go to the next one. When do we expect to see non-CAPS data in PLM eAF, though for limited data elements? Will this be in Q4 2024? Will the data elements be expanded in PLM eAF in the next release? And when is the next release?
Very good questions. So I wish I could give you exact dates. We are here, of course, we have a dependency to PMS. PMS will have the NAPS data load into our Iris Dataverse, where these products will come earlier than we will have in eAF. And this is due to these performance constraints that we have in the eAF at the moment. So I'm personally hoping to get the NAPS into PLM eAF as soon as possible. I think in the best case scenario, this could possibly be in the late Q3 or early Q4. So this is something that we are really hoping to have there as soon as possible, so that we would have as long as possible for this optional use like we've had with the centrally authorized products. But of course, performance is a key aspect. And if we today somehow launch the NAPS in the system, this could very adversely affect the functioning of the system. We have some scaling issues, and as we can imagine that the number of concurrent users will grow exponentially, so we will need to make sure that the system will perform properly before we can release the NAPS in the system. With regards to the data element in the next release, we are not yet ready to release further data elements, so the structure changes are not yet coming in the next release. So I would foresee that the next releases, of course, we have a 2-week sprint cycle, so every 2 weeks you will get some improvements or fix or new features, but the actual new data elements will not come until we will implement what we called structured variations. And in order to implement structured variations, we need to be able to push this information back to XEVMPD. Otherwise, we will ask you to fill in this information. And then when you have a change, if we can't get it back to XEVMPD, you will have to do it over and over again. And we would like to avoid wasting time and wasting effort on filling in details where we can't reuse them. And with regards to when is the next release, if the next if we think next major release, so then that would be the release of the NAPS, and as I mentioned, ideally in Q3, most likely Q4.
Thank you, Christina. Let's move on to the next most voted question, which is, when will the eAF web-based be mandatory?
So in order for the forms to become mandatory, we will of course need the nationally authorized products in the system. Ideally, I would like to give users some time for an optional use of the web-based form with the nationally authorized products already there, so that we can gain experience, fix any bugs or any issues that may be found. And once they are there, we can then perform an user acceptance testing, which will test that we are meeting the minimum viable product. So it will not be a UAT of the NAPS, but it will be a UAT of the whole system. Can you perform every single type of application that you can today with the PDF, with the web-based form? Once we have passed that UAT, we will then start a 6 months transitional period. And at the end of that transitional period, the use of the web-based eAFs will become mandatory.
Thank you. Still have a few minutes, so let's take another question. What should MAH do if the data won't match for the records NO, LO, and IS with the EU record created after match and merge?
So I can also take this one. So first of all, check which is the data elements that are not matching. I would expect that the ones that are not matching are the ones coming from SciAmet. So you remember this table that we have in chapter 7. where we say, okay, after the match and merge, this data element is surviving from SciAmet or from Exceeding PD. You need to check that. You can raise a ticket like, hey, why this is not the same? And we can tell you, yeah, because in SciAmet we have this information, and then you can decide whether it's correct or not. One point here, and this is news from last week, we are discussing with the PMS SMEs, also with the eAF team, with shortages team, with whole IRIS team, if we need to have these records from Norway, Liechtenstein, and Iceland. And most likely, we will not migrate those products to PMS. Because what we will do is we will not follow the XCMPD approach, and we will have only one record for centrally authorized products. That doesn't mean that you don't need to check these discrepancies, because XCMPD will still be there, and you will need to still submit these 4 records to XCMPD, and the data should be aligned. But in PMS, we most likely have only one record for centrally authorized product. Hope I have replied to that question.
Thank you, Marcos. Let's do another one. If I fix something in XCMPD, how long will it take until the corrections are available in eAF?
So you will have it for sure in the same day. The corrections that I've been making is taking from XCMPD to PMS is taking around, depending on the chains and how many changes, like less than 5 minutes for sure. If I have a big amount of messages, then it can maybe take 10 minutes. This is from XCMPD to PMS. And in the same day, maybe you need half an hour or something like this, so the change arrives to the eAF. So it shouldn't take a lot of time. Again, if you find issues or you don't receive the update in eAF, then again, you can raise a ticket explaining this is the change that I have made, I don't see it in eAF, etc., and we can investigate.
Okay, thank you. I think we have time for one last question, and then, as I said, we will answer the other in writing. So after EMA data migration, the incorrect authorization status valid is still displayed instead of valid transfer marketing authorization. Can EMA explain why this non-data issue is still not fixed, and how long will it take for EMA to fix it?
Well, it is not fixed yet because we went live 3 weeks ago, and to make fixes, we need to analyze the issue, we need to investigate how we solve it, then we need to deploy the changes in the lower environments, and then we go into production. So please bear with us. It's been only 3 weeks since we went live with the XCMPD data, and we are trying to be as fast as possible, but I mean, I cannot deploy changes into a live system from 1 week to another. So we are working on that. We know why this happened, and we are trying to fix this. Hopefully, we will be able to do it in the next couple of weeks. But again, it's not easy that we just identify and we go into production and we just make the correction. We need to go through different deployment steps to make sure that we don't break anything else. So yeah, I can say that we are working on that, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks we will be able to solve this issue. And it's not a blocking issue because the products are still all valid, or it's not a blocking issue to extend the AEFs, etc.
Thank you, Marcus. Okay, so we have to stop now. Before we go, we are activating a very short survey to understand from all of you participants how you like this session and what's your feedback about it. So you can connect to the same Slido, and you should be able to see the survey and leave your feedback. I don't know if Christina, you want to add anything, or Marcus, if you want to say anything.
Maybe just to mention that if you have posted a question in the Slido, don't worry if we didn't have time to answer it. We will definitely answer these questions in writing. So just check back in Slido. I can see there aren't that many, so we should be able to address them all today. Just with regards to the service desk, if you have a procedural question, then the EMA service desk, please be very careful with the options, because if you post a question as a technical question to eAF, which I think the last question there on the screen that we didn't have time to take might have been referring. So procedural questions are always best to be addressed directly to the product team, and technical questions on the functioning of the actual system can be posted then as a technical questions to eAF. So please check that you select the correct option. But I will, of course, answer that question also in writing, detailing all this information. But thank you very much for all of you who have joined today. Please give us your feedback in Slido. It always helps us to develop these sessions and make them better for you. As mentioned in the beginning of the session, we will be publishing the recording and the presentation. And of course, now that we are moving towards the more strongly recommended use of the eAFs, we will be resuming more interactive Q&A sessions and more training sessions, especially when new features and functionalities become available. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Marcus. And thank you to everyone. I will leave this Slido open a bit more. And thank you very much, everyone, for connecting to this session. Have a great day, everyone.